Some time ago I went to the Thrift shop and they have this thing laying around. It was not defective of any kind. I was more like, hey, how much do you want for it? And they sold me for around, I think it was 60 or 70 euro. So that is pretty damn dirty cheap. And the thing that I really like about it, this thing comes even with a lot of cool features you don't have with your typical super slicks. So first of all, it comes with Wi-Fi and an antenna, so the Wi-Fi capability is even better in my opinion. Then we have like the option for an HDMI display port out. We have two USB 3.0s at the back and two 2.0s, RJ45, and VGA connection. And at the front we're going to get ourselves another 2 ports, USB 3.0. We have an audio jack out and it's absolutely crazy. You can even use a headset if you want to. And an on-off switch. But another thing is that this thing even comes packed with a 7th generation i5. I just want to point out, when it comes to the Optiplex 3050, there are so many versions out there, like absolutely ridiculous, maybe even with newer chip or better and faster chips. Depending where you find it, depends of course where and how much you're going to pay for it. I was lucky to get it for around 70 freaking euro, or 60-70, so that was a freaking bargain. And something we don't need to forget, that this thing comes in a very nice slim format. Like this thing is absolutely cool to basically like put underneath your television, slap some buttons here on it and you can just play some games. And that is what I particularly like about it, the form factor. But how powerful is it? But let's talk about the options. So let's open it up and let's see what we're going to get in the inside. Because not all of the slim like mini PCs have the option to add yourself a hard drive. This is not going to be a big of a deal, simply because we do have like 3.0 ports, so we can basically use that method. It's also very fast, but the thing is almost like I want to record something, I realized that I forgot how to freaking open up these things. Another thing you can get yourself is basically like a kit. And what do I mean with the kit? So nowadays we have the option to get yourself like a very nice case like this. And in the inside we're going to find stuff like 2 controllers. And they are like ready to go. To share like your high quality chemical PlayStation 2 controllers with a dongle, and inside we're going to get ourselves a hard drive. And what is very interesting with the Pouky pad, for example, we can just plug it in, you only need to add your stuff and you're ready to go. So that's very convenient if you ask me. It even comes with a very nice protection plush. You pay a lot for basically like a couple of things. They even include like some manuals to say like how you need to add stuff, how you can need to connect to the internet. But this is like a more easy way to go to. And the craziest thing is they even sell it in all kinds of versions. And yeah, think about like all kinds of formats like 500 gigabyte, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte. You can just grab yourself a hard drive. You don't need to buy anything and just slap your files on and you're ready to go. Alright, so this thing comes with some awesome features. To begin with, we do have the option to swap out the 2.5 inch drive for an SD or a hard drive. Then we have like even an internal speaker. So if you like that kind of things. So that is also an option with this. The way how they cool the CPU here is also a very nice way. They're using this special tunnel kind of cooling. Underneath we do have like a cooling element. It sucks the air from the outside and blows it all the way to the front over here. What I also like about it is that we can remove the SSD or the hard drive fairly easy. Another option is pretty damn cool. We do have the option to build in an internal SSD if you want to and pull it on the main board itself. But if you need to get freaking like replacing the RAM modules, it's going to be a little bit more hassle. We need to remove the cooling element somehow, or the cooler itself, because it's underneath here. That's a little bit of a bummer. Alright, so let's start with some MAME and Mortal Kombat. And the reason why is very simple. Mortal Kombat 2 doesn't run on many, let's see, chip devices with this cheap PC. And but Sarah, it will have the option to play this game. He's going to shoot. I knew it. Tap. You know how it goes. Use the spear, punch him in the balls. But the game runs pretty damn good. Alright, so next up what I want to try out is to see if we can run some MAME with Tekken Tag. So Tekken 2 and 3 will run just fine. But what I find out is quite interesting is depending on what kind of CPU we're having, we do get like some different performance. So with Tekken Tag now we don't have like great performance. And it's quite interesting when you're looking at some other chips, like older ones, they run just fine. So that is always like the more of the gamble. Alright, so next up I want to try some Killer Instinct, and this is a system that doesn't run on a lot of Super Console X devices and Raspberry Pi 4. So I think that's one of those appealing things that we can play with the mini PCs, especially if you of course like this game. We're getting some amazing performance. Alright, so next up let's try some Thomas Wave. I did notice some minor hiccups, but the overall performance is pretty damn good. Alright, so next up I wanted to try some PlayStation 1. And just to see how it runs on the mini PC. Of course, PlayStation 1 is a system that we can run on many devices nowadays, including a lot of handhelds. But this is a great example that we do have some minor stutters, and this is nothing to do with maybe compatibility. This is more to do with the way how you communicate. In this case, we're going to use an USB drive, but again, like, it's kind of interesting to see like how the performance can be different between all kinds of mini PCs. And I've reviewed all kinds of cheap ones, but this is even like the one of the later chipsets, and the support in general is not that great. Okay, so unfortunate, we needed to remove the CPU cooler, and the reason why is very simple. What we're going to get with this bloody thing is we're going to get some pretty damn horrible performance. But we're only going to get 4 GB of RAM. Normally it needs to be enough, but we're only going to get 1 DIMM. So we're going to replace it with 2 DIMMs just to see if we can get some better performance over here. Yeah, basically where we're now, we're just working with this device. Let's remove also the thermal paste, because I think it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be very old, so we need to replace it too. So let's clean it up and let's replace all of these things. Okay, so next up let's try some N64. It runs way better than on your typical Super Console X, but I must say, like, I still have some stutters. The weird thing is, like, I've been messing around with this configuration. I think this is just a problem with the CPU that this thing is running on. I've like the latest BOTOS era in combination with dual channel memory now, and even like replaced the thermal paste, so we don't have any, let's say, thermal throttle from the CPU part. Alright, so next up test, we want to try some Dreamcast. Dreamcast, the same story like with Super Console X. With Super Console X, that runs pretty damn good on most devices now. But unfortunately, all of the games that basically uses this freaking CPU has problems. But you know, like, despite a lot of stuff doesn't run very well. So if you go, even if it was like supporting the CPU and the software was everything like optimized perfectly for this, I can tell you that we still have some limitations, especially when it comes to GameCube and PlayStation 2. We just need to have more power to run like sort of high-end stuff. And even as an i5 from the 7th generation, it's not enough. By far. You can see like some parts are playable. And of course, if you're going to choose a less demanding game, like a two-dimensional one, you will get better performance in general. But the story is the same, like always. But I just wanted to show you also in this video, so with having this specification list, I implemented some extra 4 GB of memory, so we went from single to dual channel, and I just added the hard drive inside the machine itself. But despite all of the changes, there is no way of getting better performance, including some messing around with the configuration files. Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, but this is a great case, like, that not every single time when you're getting a mini PC that is having better CPU, that it will be better in the performance. But did you own like one of these Dells, and what kind of CPU do you have? Because I find it quite interesting to see how many of these Dells are out there with all kinds of configurations. Yeah, mine it was not great. I was not very pleased with it. I personally prefer have an older chip that have better performance. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit that little bell, become the Wicked family, and it would be great to see you in the next video.